For 2 years, I sat through dinners at my fiancé Marcus's family home, and for 2 years, his mother Linda made it clear I wasn't good enough for her son. I grew up modestly. My dad drove a delivery truck, my mom worked at a school cafeteria, and I put myself through nursing school with loans and double shifts. Marcus's family, on the other hand, came from old money. His grandfather had built a chain of successful hardware stores decades ago, and the family had been comfortable ever since. Linda never let me forget the gap between our worlds. "It's just so refreshing that Marcus found someone so practical," she'd say at dinner, in a tone that made practical sound like an insult. She'd ask pointed questions about my student loans in front of guests. She once joked that I should make sure the prenup is fair to everyone, while looking directly at me. Marcus, to his credit, defended me constantly, but it created tension between him and his mother that clearly exhausted him. I told him more than once that I didn't need his family's approval, just his loyalty. He gave me that, at least. The person who never joined in on Linda's comments was Marcus's grandfather, Walter, the family patriarch who'd actually built the hardware store empire from nothing. Walter was quiet at those dinners, usually observing more than talking, but he was always kind to me specifically. He asked about my nursing shifts, remembered small details about my patients I'd mentioned weeks earlier, and once told me privately that he respected people who built things with their hands, one shift at a time. A comment I always assumed was just an old man being sentimental about his own working-class roots. Walter passed away last winter, quietly, in his sleep, at 89. The whole family gathered for the funeral, and a week later for the reading of the will. I almost didn't go to the will reading. It felt like family business, and Linda had made it clear over the years that I was tolerated, not included. But Marcus insisted I come, since we were engaged, and as he put it, "You're going to be family whether my mother likes it or not." The lawyer, an older man named Mr. Fenwick, who'd apparently handled Walter's affairs for decades, read through the will methodically. The hardware store chain, now worth a significant amount, was divided among Walter's 3 adult children, including Marcus's father. Grandchildren received modest trust distributions. Standard, expected, exactly what everyone in the room assumed would happen. Then Mr. Fenwick paused and said, "There is one additional provision, added 8 months ago, addressed specifically to a Miss Rebecca Hale." That's me. The entire room turned to look at me. Linda's expression shifted from mild confusion to visible alarm. Mr. Fenwick continued reading. Walter had left me a sum of money, separate from the family estate, along with a handwritten letter. The amount wasn't life-changing in the way lottery winnings are, but it was substantial. Enough to pay off every cent of my nursing school debt with a significant amount left over. He'd apparently set it up quietly months before his death, after several of our private conversations at those uncomfortable family dinners. The letter, which Mr. Fenwick read aloud at Walter's request, explained his reasoning. Walter wrote that he recognized in me the same drive and work ethic that had built his entire company from nothing, and that he'd watched, dinner after dinner, as I endured casual cruelty disguised as concern with grace he admired. He wanted to make sure that whatever happened with Marcus and me in the future, I would never have to feel financially small in that family's presence again. Linda was silent through the entire reading, her face rigid. When Mr. Fenwick finished, she finally spoke, her voice tight. "That's a very generous gesture. Unexpected, but generous." Marcus, sitting beside me, was crying, not from sadness, but from something like vindication. He squeezed my hand under the table. Here's the twist that made this story ripple through the extended family for weeks. Walter's letter didn't stop at explaining the gift to me. He included one more paragraph, addressed generally to the rest of the family, gently noting that he hoped they would reflect on how they treated the people who joined their family through marriage, adding that wealth built without character isn't worth passing down. He didn't name Linda directly, but everyone in that room knew exactly who those lines were written for, and Linda knew it more than anyone. The dinners changed after that. Not overnight and not perfectly. Linda isn't a different person just because of one letter. But the comments about my background stopped. The pointed questions about loans disappeared. She's never apologized outright, but she's never needed to. Walter said what needed saying, and he said it in a way that made it impossible for her to argue back without looking exactly like the person his letter described. Marcus and I got married in the spring. Walter's chair at the reception was left empty on purpose, with a single place setting at Marcus's request. I like to think he would have approved of that practical, sentimental little touch. It felt right for a man who spent his whole life quietly noticing who actually deserved a seat at the table.